This is why I hate bamboo. I think these were sprouts on Sunday night, and none of these were here last weekend. There's 14 new shoots. I'm just going to go around and chop them out. This has been today's job. Just building this stepped garden edge up the side of the yuccas. I've still got a little bit to go, but I've been cutting these individually and putting a finish on them and then attaching them because I'm basically working my way up the hill and measuring as I go, and I've run out of the finish, so I'll have to pick up some more tomorrow. It's now 20 to 7. I've got a couple more pegs, and then I'll come along with a flush cut saw and just trim off the top of the pegs. And we've got that decorative gravel to go on the inside around the plants. Try and smooth all this out to be a bit more of a gentle slope rather than a rough guts that it is at the moment. It's been fun incorporating woodwork and yard work. It's Tuesday morning. Sunday became more of an errand day, run around getting things and stuff, and one of the things I wanted to get was more of the wax finish for the timber edging that I was doing, because I was cutting and waxing them one at a time to make sure that I got the steps right. And I'd run out on the Saturday Arvo, and so I thought, well, I'll just go down to Bunnings and get it. And I went down to Bunnings, and Bunnings had been completely reorganised and they no longer had it. So that was annoying, and I rang one of the grocery stores and they said, yes, we have it. We've got a beeswax polish. And when I went there, it was a liquid furniture polish, not a wax. So that kind of put a whole damper on things, because there was that. There was also the boxes the planter boxes that my wife wanted made. Then there was other plantings and moving things and that sort of stuff. And by the time we'd gone to the store, the local fruit shop, we got back to the house and it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. I know I had daylight, but I just didn't feel like I'd really lost my mojo for the day. I just couldn't do it. So we watched a couple of movies instead. Had some family time, which was probably well needed. The movies we watched cheered me up. It was good. And then yesterday, I was working remotely from home for Nessa, for something I'm doing for them. And because we can't be face-to-face at the moment, they're trying to minimise that still, especially when you're with a group of people. We worked remotely. One of the real great benefits, and I'm seeing it as a great benefit as an executive in my school, one of the great benefits of having gone through this and having to set up things for remote meetings and whatnot, our school still does muster as a Zoom meeting in the morning so that everybody can be in their own staff rooms. And the executive also do our executive meeting via Microsoft Teams so that we can still all be in our own staff rooms or offices. So even though I was not at school on the day. Because the stuff for Nessa didn't start till 9, I was able to join muster in the morning and hear all the announcements and any updates and that sort of thing. We finished in time in the afternoon for me to even make it to the exec meeting. So I was able to still call into the exec meeting, and it was good because there were several instances where questions were asked of me as the timetabler. So it was good that they were able to do that rather than saying, oh, well, somebody will have to see Damien tomorrow. I know it takes away of the face-to-faceness, but really until things get to the point where you can really safely be in a large group without throwing a little grenade into the middle of the operation of the school, it's a good way of doing things. Our principal made the point. He said it would be horrible for somebody in the executive to become positive for COVID right before an exec meeting and not know it, and then the school loses the whole exec for a week. The incident last week is a small number of staff, thankfully, because of the way the school's set up, but there is a small number of staff who are not in the school for a week, and it means that everybody else is needing to pick up and help out and that sort of thing. So, but double year 11 today. Hopefully we can get them through all of the role plays for the kids who haven't done it yet, and that way all they've got to then do is finalise the cluster booklet, and cluster B will be done, and we can move on to cluster C because we are behind because of lockdown. Another thing that really got me down on Sunday, everything was in the timetable, and I'd run it as a first line of trying to unblock the matrix. When it first put all of the staff and all of the classes into the matrix for the whole school, there were 55 or 54 staff clashes. That's where a teacher appeared twice at the same time. And I ran the program from about recess until 4:30 when I left it on Friday. And it managed to get it down to 37. But at that point when I closed it down, it said it hadn't done anything or hadn't changed anything in 48 minutes. So on Friday night, I set the laptop up in my office, changed some of the parameters so that it delved deeper into it and would do, rather than just doing single swaps, it could do multiple swaps of lines. By the next morning, it had fixed one clash, 10% improvement. So I just left it running. By Saturday night, it was up to a 13% improvement, and it had gone to 35 clashes. So I went, okay, it's two less for me to have to fix manually. Sunday morning, it had gone to 14%, still only 35 clashes. So some minor improvement in how it shuffled stuff. So I just left it going. When I came in to check on it before we went out, the laptop had crashed. The program just looked like a mess. The laptop had frozen up completely. I couldn't do anything. I had to restart. And when I restarted and opened up the program again, it had gone back to its 37. So I had lost 36 hours of number crunching. I tried starting it again just to get it started, and it crashed again later that day. And that was another thing that made me feel defeated. So I'm going to have a look at those 37 clashes and just start working manually. Once I start manually, I won't run that process again because it might undo work that you've done. This is the point in the year where when I'm not on class, I can end up being locked to my desk for every other hour of the day. Makes it hard to get some stuff done. But that's what you take on when you put your hand up to be the timetabler. It's a fun puzzle, but it's a massive time sucker. It's something that, you know, if you don't get it done, what happens with the school? One of the last items on the agenda yesterday was, in the exec meeting, was about the size of the incoming Year 7. It's students of interest who want to enrol. It's larger than anything we've had in recent years. We've already increased the number of classes to 6 for year 7 from 5 that we had for multiple years. That is another thing that creates stress on the timetable and every faculty, because it means that there needs to be more than one person, a person and a bit, found to cover that class. And in Kappa and Tas, that 6 got made into 7 for class size reasons. And my anxiety shot through the roof when I heard that, and I just started, what am I going to do? And the boss said, like, we can't make another class and try and throw in another teacher into the whole mix. That just will not work. Plus, we wouldn't have the rooms for it. We would not have the room. I think we're barely going to have the rooms for the classes that we're going to have, because school is growing a little bit. Let's see how we go. Double year 11 done. Kids all working well. Got another one through cluster A, completed all the work, competent. I'm marking the cluster Bs, and everybody who was here today got their role play done. So provided they've got everything correct in the booklet, that'll be another cluster and 2 competencies that it'll get. So this year's year group, they seem to be going a little bit better than previous. Or when I say previous, the previous year. It's a lot better, like so close to the mark. They just got to correct a few questions, because in the clusters you've got to have 100%. It's looking good. I'll go back and mark these later today and mark off some N awards, because some kids have got their N awards cleared. Feeling pretty good. But there was probably only half the class here, which is probably why they're working so well. Had MRI of my neck to see how that's going. It's been a while since I've had one, and they just disc straight away. So I have to check that out on the computer. You can also get it through an app, and it was there, and the images were there, but they just weren't loading. So it obviously, I don't know whether it hadn't processed properly for the app, or I just didn't have very good signal. And I dropped something in the mailbox that I didn't have time to do this morning. Almost forgot that I needed to return those tiles from the laundry. That's what I just did at Bunnings. And I came out of Bunnings after doing that, got in the car, started the car, was about to drive off, and then I went, whacks! So, stopped the car, went back in, checked back in. Oh, I've got to check back out. Just asked the girl at the front whereabouts they had finished wax. She told me the old number. I walked straight down there. Barely got down the aisle, and there it was. It was up above head height. But that was the one. They've changed the colour slightly on the tin, unless the colour on my tin at home is just faded. It's quite possible. So I got 2. They weren't that expensive. So now I'll be able to continue with the edging in the yard, make those boxes and all that sort of stuff that I just couldn't do because I didn't have the wax. Now I'm looking forward to the weekend. 3 more days of work to get through. Another year 10 lesson. It's Wednesday morning. I've got a frame glued up, some legs glued up. The legs for that frame are just there. Table basically put together. He's only screwed his frames in, but he's figuring that once he puts his tabletop in, which is going to be inset, it's going to help stiffen it up a little bit. Only the 3 doing prac today. There's quite a few students away. Another day in class, in the workshop, and demonstrating to students how you can use the clamps to pull a twist out of a frame, because that was originally rocking. Now I've got to go on timetable, check reports, that sort of stuff. I really need to cut this grass. He's running all over the place looking for the ball. There he is. Good boy! I didn't throw it that far. Grass is longer than him. Poor little bugger. Trying to not do any big throws right down the yard after his vet visit, because they said he was good boy. because he goes that it's so crazy, he may have injured his back leg at some point and never had it heal properly. Take a look at that bamboo that just sprouted up behind the sheds. It's taller than the shed. And you'll be able to see the brand new shoots sprouting up all the way down to the back of the yard. So you see all this bamboo down here. Right, that bit's taller than me already. So when I bought this place, there was the 2 citrus trees, and there was bamboo probably out to about here, and it ran all the way up, and then it sort of cut in there, and there was like another tree type thing here, and the bamboo looked nice, and it sort of just went down here. And then I sort of left it because I thought it looked cool. And then the next summer, it just exploded through the yard. And I mean, you see this bit here, and there are runners that are coming up around those rocks, and they have for quite a while. So now it's just a struggle to try and keep it in check because there's all the runners through here. And it just explodes every end of spring, summer. And this is what all these big ones, like just from the shed to here, or out here, there's 50 shoots. And when I say shoots, some of them are, what's that, 3 meters tall? Those ones. Another one. Good boy. It's just going crazy. So I've been scrounging around, found a little piece of aluminium, a little bit of a bolt that's pre-made that I can play with. 8 generally means it's an M8, an 8mm bolt. Checking with a thread gauge too. There's my thread that matches up with it. It's a 1.25 pitch. That's my 8 with a 1.25 pitch. Piece of scrap bar. At 5 to 8 Thursday night, my wife had sent me pictures of Batman in the backyard today, saying the place was unbearable. It looked like Jurassic Park. And when I got home, she was out here playing with him as well, and she just said, "Can you try and mow the backyard?" Oh, actually it wasn't. She said, "Can you try and cut the grass? If not the whole yard, at least this top area." So I've done all this top area up here, and I went down over in that section, and I went down the yard as far over as the thicker bamboo that's growing up, because the trimmer line doesn't deal with bamboo that well. Like you can see just there was some big weeds that grow up, and they're really thick and woody, and it hacked into them but didn't do much. So I'll probably get I've gone all the way down the back, so there's like a clear spot down there, and all across here, the bamboo, See the bamboo there? And I'm actually going to check with my wife if she wants me to let some of those really big pieces, because we've got some really thick ones growing, let them go until they become woody, and then we'll harvest them and we can use them for trellis and stuff. We shall see. Just had U10. A couple of them just doing practice on the lathe. It's actually good, got 5 more who would normally not do much. Got a bit more involved, and I think it was because I introduced them to the lathe. So it's a little bit more interesting for them. Something completely different than flat work hand tools and stuff. And I've got them again on Monday, so they seem keen to keep going. And there are a couple still working on their tables, so that's good news. Time to go pack up though, it's weekend. This is where I'm at with my tool. I need to tap and drill a hole and then put threads in for this. I need to try and clean this up. I've got to drill a hole in the end of that for one of these to be the pin. Planned for today, I had a period free at the start of the day when I went, oh, I'll come over here and do this. I came in, I was set up. One of my staff came in and started talking to me about this room because we want to turn this room into our senior room. Get a new table saw in here, a bandsaw, a wood lathe or two, make it, and disc sander, and we're getting the CNC router to go up in that back corner. Next year is going to be an ideal time if we can actually get this set up for it, because year 12 timber and year 11 timber are on at the same time for just about every period of the cycle, which means the main workshop can't be used by both classes. So if we can get this one set up, hopefully not too far into the first part of the year, it'll probably take the better part of first term. But if we start planning it now, which we started doing, but we came in here and he just started talking to me about this and I couldn't get to this. And then I had to do a lesson observation for one of my staff who's getting their teaching certificate sorted out. And then a meeting for timetable changes, and then lunchtime I needed to eat because then I was out on playground duty and then had U10. So the little bits I've come down here I've gotten a little bit done, but I might have to finish it on Monday.